What is going on, everybody? The original Mako back, and today we're going to be talking about my overall thoughts on the Gunfire Reborn DLC. But before we get into that, be sure to check the links down below. As always, there's a link down below to the member screen, where, as you can see right now, we have a list of our members, and I can't thank them enough for all of their extra support. There are 4 different tiers, and there's a bunch of unique perks that come with each tier, and it's a really, really good way to help support the channel a little bit extra, so check that out. I would really appreciate it. Also, the Twitch link is down below if you want to see me play this new DLC live. Now, that being said, after having a lot of time to play this new DLC and explore all the new things, I feel good to give a little bit of a review or just overall thoughts on the matter, so that is what we are doing today. So I'm just going to go through all of the new things and kind of talk about my thoughts on them, and then at the end, I'll give it an out of 10 rating for the DLC. So, first up, we have the new characters. We've got, obviously, Xingzhe, which is the monkey, and Li, the fox. I think both characters, they did a really, really good job with. Both characters feel super fun. I mean, the fox is maybe just a little bit over-tuned, but not crazy enough to where I think, like, it's that big of a deal, honestly. The monkey has a bunch of really unique and cool play styles and combinations of things that you can do for every build. He's a very, very unique character, and I think it's really cool. And then the fox is just big damage, absolutely dominating, and also a very, very fun character to use. So, when it comes to the new characters, I think they nailed it. I think they did a great job with both. Both of them are fun to play. Once again, I think the monkey has a little bit more gimmicks that he can do, but doesn't take away from the fact that the fox can just absolutely melt an entire room with an E, and it just feels extremely satisfying. So, in terms of characters, I think they knocked it out of the park. And I've seen kind of a lot of people, I think, agree that the characters are both really cool and fun. I haven't seen a lot of complaints about either of them. So, characters were fantastic. Next up, we had 4 new weapons that were added to the game. The Cloud Weaver, the Arclight, the Hexagon, and the Lightning Kasana. So the Cloud Weavers, one of the more unique weapons that they've added. The fact that it can just kind of passively do damage as you are, using your abilities or doing literally anything else. It's so useful, and they do just ridiculous amounts of damage considering it's a pistol. And frankly, I mean, as you may have seen in my weapon tier list video, it really doesn't get much better than these weapons, or than the Cloud Weavers. I don't think they're over-tuned. I think the Cloud Weavers are literally, like, perfect right now with where they're at in terms of balancing. So, we love to see it. The Cloud Weavers are fantastic and super fun to play with and mess around with different builds on. Next up, we had the Arclight, which finally, right, we had a Fire Kunai, a Corrosive Kunai, and now we finally get our Lightning Kunai. And for the Arclight, it's a really fun weapon. I think it's the best of the kunais, for sure. It is still a kunai weapon, so the damage can be a little lackluster at times, but the right-click ability is really good, as well as this, as you can see in this little GIF here, the chain lightning that you get from this weapon is so good at dealing extra damage, and it makes it a very fun weapon to use, and once again, another weapon that is just fun to use regardless. Every time they add weapons, it doesn't have to be S tier, they just have to be kind of fun and feel good and cool to use, and this is one of those weapons, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time using the Arclight throughout this DLC. The Hexagon was the next one, and the Hexagon's another very cool weapon that has a nice, unique gimmick where you charge up damage for a tracking shot by using this shield, which also blocks every single attack in front, which is really, really good. It was a little overtuned at first, obviously, but since then it has been nerfed. It's still very good and still a very, very viable weapon. It's just not, like, super busted anymore, but still incredible weapon, the rifle part of the weapon, even if you did an entire run where you didn't use the shield at all, you'd still have a good chance to win, I think, based off the weapon, because the rifle part does a ton of damage. Now, obviously, it shines with the shield and the special shot, but still, it's really, really cool, and another great job on this weapon, which is why I get confused when we get to the Lightning Kasana, because it's so bad. Now, this comes from a single-player perspective, obviously. I don't play co-op very often. Sometimes, but not very often. And it just seems like even in co-op, like even when we look at this like example here, you have to be constantly worried about shooting your teammates, which means you can't be worried about shooting enemies, because you have to be shooting your teammates with shields at all times, which doesn't really seem like a ton of fun. But my main issue with this weapon is, if you hit a crit while not scoped in, you get a charge. That charge increases the crit multiplier for your next shot when you scope in. It does no damage. The normal shot does no damage. The scoped in, charged up shot does no damage. It is a sniper. These are supposed to be the hard-hitting, just animals of the game, and it's not. At all. At all. Like, it just doesn't get the job done in any sort of meaningful way, especially in single player. So, 3 out of 4 is nice, 75%. It's just really frustrating that this one had to be so on the bad end from my experience with it. But the other 3 are super cool and fun, and I think they did a great job. And then a couple of other new things. I'm not going to go through like each individual thing here, but the new game mode. So in this update, a new game mode is added, the Bizarre Dream. So we just take a quick pop over here. This is the Bizarre Dream. It adds Spiritual Link and Mysterious Jokel, which Spiritual Link is the ability to get certain scrolls, weapons, and ascensions, and the combinations of those things give you extra buffs, which I think is cool. I think it's great. It's really fun and adds another layer to the game. And Mysterious Jokel just makes the last area a little bit harder. So it's like a difficulty multiplier. They could have just added like a Reincarnation 9 and like moved on with their day. Anyways, here are my thoughts. I think the fact that they marketed this as a new game mode is drastically incorrect, because it's not. It's just not a new game mode. It's the same game, exact same way to play the game, with a couple of added benefits from getting certain things in the game. I've said this before, I'll say it again. When I think of a new game mode, I think of a whole new way to play the game. Some examples are an endless mode, where you can just keep looping over and over. A wave-based mode, where you survive different waves, and at the end of each wave you get different options for maybe guns, ascensions, whatever, scrolls, stuff like that. There's a lot of options for new game modes, and this is not one of them. That being said, I think the new options are cool. I think Spiritual Link is a really cool addition to the game, but it is not a new game mode. There is slight hope for the future. So if we remember their roadmap, they said they're going to be adding a few new game modes throughout the next 8 months or so. And I have a little bit of hope, because this entire Bizarre Dream is what they considered the new game mode. So originally I thought that, every single new game mode, they were just going to add more check marks to this Bizarre Dream thing. But since they said that the entire new game mode is called the Bizarre Dream, that gives me hope for the future game modes being something completely different from the Bizarre Dream, and I genuinely hope they are. I am not confident after this update that they're going to be something like that, but I can have hope, and there is a little bit of hope, I think, but it's not a new game mode, which is very disappointing. But it is cool, just not a new game mode. Some of the hero changes, nothing really too crazy, nor the weapon adjustments. Actually, this one is kind of a big deal. The inscription adjustment to the Spore Gemini is phenomenal. Spore Gemini was, nobody ever used it ever for any reason at all because it wasn't good. Well, unless you were on the dog dual wielding, and even then, you still probably don't want to use it. So, changing this to be significantly better was phenomenal. This is actually a very, very viable Gemini now. Some of the spiritual blessings, none of the changes were too crazy. Fake death is a big one because you can, die every 45 seconds now. Overconsumption was a huge huge buff. Sorry, it's now viable for a majority of the game. Where not Thorny Bloom, Blossom Enthusiast was ridiculous. One of the wildest buffs to something I've ever seen. Most of the time, when something's already very, 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 very good, it doesn't get buffed. This time, it got buffed. And then Atomic Bomb, it's not a huge change. The damage gets capped, but it still hits like a truck. So nothing super crazy. I think they're all good changes. I think the Blossom Enthusiast one is still just a little bit confusing, just because of the fact that it was already so good. They didn't need to make it better. But still, pretty good changes there. I don't really have anything to complain about. Those are all good changes. And then some new enhanced scrolls, and some slight readjustments to certain scrolls and the Golem, which the Golem adjustments are noticeable, but not like, you're not going to load into a game, get to the Golem, and be like, I'm fighting a whole new enemy now. So definitely noticeable, but not like wild changes. And then some bug fixes that still don't really fix some very significant issues. So there we go. That's all of the new stuff and kind of my thoughts on each different part in general. But for, as an overall rating, here's what I'm going to say. The DLC is fun. It has a lot of new things. It has a lot of cool new builds. The Spiritual Link adds a little bit of extra just layers, and layers are good. However, it runs into the same issue that all of the content updates have had with this game. When I first started playing this game, content updates were every 2 weeks, and then it was every month, and now it's every 5 months. So when you add new content, you have to try to make it in a way where you can keep people playing until your next content update. If mod support was a thing, this wouldn't be an issue because the community can make content for you to keep people playing. However, it's not a thing, nor will it ever be a thing. So this will be fun for about a month. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, but then it's gone again. Other than mods, another good way is the new game mode. If the new game mode is something that's very replayable, if the new game mode is something that has a leaderboard, so you can try to climb the leaderboard to get to the top, to beat other people, to beat your own personal scores, that is a way to really help extend the duration that people can play this DLC before getting to the point where they've done everything and there's no point in playing anymore because they've already done everything. So it's frustrating. It's great fun, but it's going to fall off again, and probably very quickly, once the newness kind of wears off a little bit. And like I said, it's just unfortunate because there's so much potential with these new game modes, or to have mod support, or all of these things that can really, really help a game like this, and it's just not happening. There is, from what I understood, a little bit of content being added at the end of this month, which, depending on that content, could help extend it a little bit longer. I don't know if it's going to be like a whole new weapon, a whole new whatever. I don't know. If I had to guess, it's just more enhanced scrolls, but If it is more than that, then great. We love to see it. But it's just, it's hard to get super excited about it when you know that it could have been so much more, especially with that new game mode. Once again, that was the big thing for this update that I thought would have had a chance to really extend this game's lifespan. But instead, we have to wait for the next one to see if the next new game mode will be the big one. However, for all of the stuff that they did add, I think it's really good. So overall, I'm going to give this update DLC, a 7 out of 10. I think almost everything they added was great, fun changes, makes it exciting to play, new builds, all sorts of stuff. It just doesn't have that longevity that I was hoping for from that new game mode, which I think was kind of the highlight of this DLC. So having that be the most disappointing part is somewhat frustrating. But those are my thoughts on the new DLC. I'm going to keep playing it for a while, try to get all of these builds and stuff done that I want to get done, and we'll see where we go from there. But regardless, I've been enjoying it a lot so far, and can't wait to see what they add at the end of the month. So thank you guys so much for all the support, as always. Let me know your thoughts on this DLC down below, and let me know what you'd like to see in the future from the game. So thank you guys. Hopefully you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I love each and every one of your faces, and I will catch you all in the next video.